Trevor's going to pitch in with this, no doubt. Manchester City, of course, go into action. They're up against Club Brugge. Pep's been talking about Kevin De Bruyne, and keen to get your view on this, Trev, because Kevin De Bruyne is not the Kevin De Bruyne that we all know and love. Why is there some kind of a drop-off here? Is he a victim of his own success, or have high standards kicked in and he's not quite hitting the heights that we normally expect from Kevin? This was Pep.
You cannot imagine how good player it is. I said before, so the periods of the season, when you have a long career like him, like playing millions of games, you have highs and lows. I know how he's doing, he's training, and he knows that he has our complete support, playing or not playing, minutes or playing a good level or bad level. All the players, they know we support them. So I was a football player, and I know in an entire career you cannot be performing incredible well all the time. So there are high and lows, and he knows better than anyone else, then they can do better, and we will wait him, and because I know how he's doing every day to get his best. But we forget that they are human beings, and they are the last 8-9 years, they have 3 weeks holidays in every season, every year.
We do forget, actually. He's right. But having said that, Trevor, getting back to what we talk about at the back of 10 o'clock, with Ronaldo, there are only highs and highs.
Yeah, but you say that. I'm sure Ronaldo's had a few times throughout his career where he's not performed where he wants to perform. But what I would say is, I mean, Pep understands him more than anyone. He's human. He's been through a lot in the last 4 or 5 months in particular, I feel, because you look at the Champions League final, the injury, the loss, then going straight into the Euros. I think that emotionally will affect him, not doing quite as well as he'd like to have done with Belgium. And then coming back into this Manchester City side with, again, without signing a striker, which I'm sure all the players hoped they would, apart from maybe the forwards. I think that affects all of them. But
oh dear,
it goes without saying, the fundamentals will stay the same with Kevin De Bruyne. He'll stay professional. He'll keep working hard. His standards will stay the same. And form is temporary. Class is permanent. And I don't think any serious person doesn't expect Kevin De Bruyne to hit that form again.
That's not fair, isn't it?
I think the backdrop of overcoming adversity, and the adversity that Trevor talks about, is almost laughable. The adversity of come on, Trevor.
It's facts.
Belgium are used to losing in tournaments. They don't win anything.
Well, there's a big expectation.
And losing in the Champions League is part and parcel. Losing football matches is part and parcel.
And having your eye socket broken, not even a foul given. There's a lot that he's had to deal with.
His eyes are wide open enough to be able to negotiate himself a £400,000 a week contract. So they all go hand in hand. And I know it's all about money, and I'll be told off by Jim again for making it all about money. But we have to have a scenario where people are accountable for their form. And you're absolutely right. Form is temporary and class is permanent. And he's gone a long way past having to justify individual dips in his form. But whilst we are doing this and making a conversation out of his current dip in the form, he has to be held accountable for it. And we can't go back into your nonsense little soliloquy about he's lost in the Champions League. Because these are just
factual situations that have happened in his life over the last 4 or 5 months.
Top players that demand and command top rewards and so on and so forth have to overcome these things, don't they?
And he will.
And we are questioning his form currently. And I would like you to point me to a time in Ronaldo's career where he has actually diminished and someone's gone, what's happened to Ronaldo? Because we can't.
Juve didn't retain the Premier, the Serie A, and he wasn't. He did okay. He weren't the top goal scorer.
We weren't far from it, Trevor. Have you seen his goal scoring record in Italy? It was pretty
special.
You were arguing against yourself.
But performance-wise, I think there's been times where he might not have performed well, but he still gets goals.
If Kevin De Bruyne was sitting at Tottenham, you'd be all over this going, hang on a second, what's going on here? He's either a top footballer or he's not. Because he's at Manchester City, he's having a dip of form. You are finding 15 reasons, like you found the Magna Carta, to justify why Raheem Sterling isn't getting picked.
You always have to bring him in. We're talking about Kevin De Bruyne.
Relevant.
He's a class act. He's a class player. And he's having a little bit of a dip in form. He's human.
And we're saying
that is as much as far as it
why
goes.
does City do without him? I mean, he was left on the bench at Brighton 9 days ago. I was there. City flourished. He's got an uncharacteristic 2 goals, no assists.
Sometimes players need a break, and they're their worst.
He needs to hit form
they're
again.
their worst enemy, because that resilience and that want to
Ronaldo
do
doesn't need a
well.
break. He's older than Kevin De Bruyne, playing in a lesser team
Bore
than
off,
Kevin De
6
Bruyne.
years older.
Bore off, Simon. It's a completely different
It's not
argument.
bore off, Trevor, because you can't find an alternative argument to come back with. It is a simple scenario where we're talking. You brought Ronaldo into the conversation. I'm now bringing Ronaldo back into it, right?
Did
You
I
talk-
hear you
I
say
didn't
bore
bring
off?
Ronaldo into
Yes, you
the
did. You talked
conversation.
about Ronaldo having a dip in form.
No, I think Jim said that.
Well, the conversation, I think you did actually, but we can go back and look at it. But the point is we're talking about Kevin De Bruyne. And Kevin De Bruyne is a player that's having a dip in form. It's got nothing to do with bore off. It's got to do with look at the dynamics of what
He's
we're talking
having a
about.
dip in form, and I've
But
accepted
what you're
that.
talking about is you're actually asking grown men to sit in a room and go, I'm sorry for him because they didn't do well
I
for
didn't
Belgium.
say I'm sorry for him.
Well,
I'm saying he's been through a lot
all right.
emotionally.
Well, let's rephrase it again.
You
You're
include
asking
me in
people.
that,
You're
grown
asking. Well, okay, perhaps not. We're asking people to legitimately consider the fact that because Belgium didn't do very well, because Man City didn't win the Champions League, and because he's played a lot of
And
games,
he's picked
we
up
should
injuries.
sit here and
And he
consider
picks
that in
up
the
injuries.
equation.
Yep.
But that's excusing something.
It's
rather.
not, I'm not excusing anything.
Well, then what are you advancing it for then?
He's having a dip in form. These are some of the reasons why he's
Is it an
having a dip in
explanation then?
These are some of the reasons why he's having a dip in form.
So you're
And
excusing it?
The main reason is he's human, he's not a robot, and he's not going to play well all the time. How does
Okay.
that sound?
But then we compare and contrast it to those that do, right? Which is the Ronaldo example that was brought in by someone, whether it was you or Jim.
Well, it wouldn't
right?
have been me.
But okay, but you certainly commented on it. You could have said, "I don't want to talk about Ronaldo. I don't like that. It's whataboutery." But you
Ronaldo's
didn't.
regarded as one of the top 2 players in the world. He doesn't have many
And
dips
so,
in form.
and Kevin De Bruyne is in
Well,
that
there's a little
category,
bit
isn't
below
he?
that level, I
So
think.
we're now asking why. If it's a legitimate question, is it a legitimate question? If it's not a legitimate question, because I don't know whether it is or not. I've not watched enough Kevin De Bruyne to say his form's dipped. But if it's a legitimate
is.
question, okay, so it's a legitimate
To
question.
be fair, Pep explained his reasons.
Yeah, but managers sit there explaining everything in the face of, rather than saying it's not really good enough, because they can't say that because they've got the balls to say it. They haven't got the balls to say it out there, which actually is not good enough, it's not acceptable. What they'll do is they'll tell you that they're tired, or tell you that their women's blowing from their west, or their aunt, there's their uncle, rather than simply saying it isn't good enough. He was big enough and large enough to sit on conference calls a year ago telling people why he wasn't going to take pay cuts. He was big enough to negotiate a deal and be universally praised for going into a room and negotiating his own contract. People have to be called out for what they're doing at the time they're doing it.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with it. And it shouldn't be, we shouldn't result.
Yeah, but
it shouldn't
he's-
invoke a
okay.
reaction, which is.
He's human, Simon. He's not going to play well all the time. It's not been.
So it's
for
not a
long-
legitimate question then?
It's not a long time. It's been a blip, but it will be a concern.
Kevin De
'Cause his
Bruyne, if you're
standards are so
listening this
high.
lunchtime, for the sake of all of us, please hit form again.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Thursday morning, 10 till 1. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.